How's everybody? And we're back again, LA Kendrick from the House of Havoc with a new weekly story for you. And it's titled Cowards Amongst the Pale. Let's get right into it. So we have a father and son planning a survival trip. He's going to teach his son everything that he knows about survival, self-defense, how to track, how to be aware of things, how to live off the land if everything happens to go off the grid. The young man name is Jarvis. Around the ripe age of 12, and his dad is Big Shar. A man of many disciplines and self-defense arts forms and weapon usage. A man who's lived off the grid and basically lived off the environment. Again, always being prepared. So he and his son have had this trip planned for about a month or two now. They go up into the mountains in a off the beaten path wilderness that his dad has been spotting out and been, has spotted out, and feels like this will be a good hunting ground to teach his son because it's got a lot of wildlife, mountain lions, deer, coyotes, things of that nature, things that could present a challenge. Nice little lake, good hills, pretty much to get you in shape and keep you ready for whatever might come your way. So they get up bright and early one morning and they kiss the wife and the kids goodbye. And he leaves like a GPS tracker at the house so that if anything happens, somebody can track them down or locate them or at least know where to start for the last known location if something were to happen, if they were to go missing. Again, his dad is all about survival. So they're driving and they're laughing, and Jarvis is talking to his dad. He's running down the birds and the bees, having that father and son manly talk with him. They're enjoying the nice warm breeze. And again, they're just really getting to know each other and bond in ways that only a father and son can bond when you're in the son's life. He's giving him that alpha male leadership to make him a man, to make him a warrior, so that he can, when he's out on his own, he can take care of himself and a family. So they go out, they set up, they finally arrive at their destination, and they set up camp. And get the firewood ready so when they come back, they've got what they need. They've got lines hanging up over the trees for whatever, say if they catch fish or whatever. They're just ready for it. So they go down the trail and Big Shar is looking around real cautiously. And Jarvis is trying to figure out what his dad is looking at. And he says, "Dad, what are you looking at?" And Big Shar says, "I'm just surveying and being mindful of my surroundings. And this is the first lesson that I'm teaching you. Be mindful of your surroundings and everything around you. There's always a predator somewhere watching you, studying you, trying to see how they can take advantage of you and ambush you. So I'm just making sure you smell." It's one of the things you can use, should I say, one of the senses that you use when you're out here is the sense of smell. Now, don't just rely on your eyes, use your ears as well. Try to become one with nature and your environment. That way you'll survive a lot of things and not be caught off guard. So Jarvis is, shaking his head like, yes, Dad, I understand. So his dad said, well, before this trip is over, Big Char says, you will understand. And Jarvis kind of raises an eyebrow and looks at his dad as if to say, okay. So Dad's in serious mode. So the mosquitoes are biting pretty heavy. And his dad has concocted a garlic oil. And he tells, Big Char tells Jarvis to rub it over his skin. That way, that repels the mosquitoes better than off and things like that. Because if you don't have it, this is a quick way to make it. This is a quick way to make an insect repellent. And it's pretty strong. And it actually it does the trick. And then the animals are kind of they don't know, because it's a natural scent in the environment, it doesn't deter them or set them off or tip them off to where you might be. So they only have a knife. Each one of them have a really, really, really nice knives, and one each, and they have a bow and arrow. And Big Char sees some game out, a buck, and he shoots it. Drops it, first shot. So they tell Jarvis to do the next thing, so they're kind of ducking down in the bushes to get, him acclimated and get him ready to shoot the bow. And he's pretty proficient with the bow. He's not a noob at it. So they squat down and they wait. And they wait. And then finally they see a doe actually come in the direction of where they needed to go. And Jarvis is real hesitant to shoot it. He has it in his sight, but he's real hesitant to shoot it because he doesn't like to kill things. And his dad whispers to him, take the shot. I know you don't want to kill anything, but sometimes it's a matter of life and death and survival. And this is just getting you ready for it. We're going to use every part of what we kill. We don't just kill for the sake of killing or for sport. Whatever we kill, we're going to use it, okay? So he shoots and he misses. And his dad pats him on the back and said, it's okay. There are going to be other opportunities. So it's starting to get, a little dark. And they tie strings to the fallen buck that they have already killed. And they're dragging it. And the dad and Big Char is still looking around. And Jarvis is noticing, like he said, his dad is more intense than he normally is. And so Big Char is looking around as they're dragging. And Jarvis said, well, won't the blood, Dad, won't the extra blood attract animals? And he said, yeah. So what I want you to do is I'm dragging this thing back. I need you to kick dirt on the blood trail because it'll stop after a certain point because the hole's not that big. So it'll stop after a certain point. So anytime you see blood splatter or blood come out, I need you to kick dirt on it. Okay? So they do. So Jarvis does. And they finally make it back to the campsite. And the dad guts the buck. And he hangs him up, letting him, bleed out, let it dry out, let the carcass dry out. But he digs a hole and disposes of the guts in the hole, except for a few. He just kind of throws them out. And Jarvis says, well, Dad, why not bury all of it? Won't this attract the predators? And his dad says, exactly what I'm trying to do. So you'll be able to know and identify, and you can track the pattern and movements of these predators. Okay? So they laugh and they sit down and they're eating some of the stuff that his mom has packed for them, and they're eating, they're laughing right around the fire. And they're really having a good time. They can see the moon over the lake, and they're just he's sharing stories with his son, and again, giving him that bond, that father and son bonding time where you guys are bonding and you're becoming men together. Right now you have Jarvis is feeling that rite of passage. And the night air becomes thin. You can see all the stars. It's like the sky just opens up. And you can see all the stars. You can see the constellations. You can see the band of the Milky Way. And Jarvis is just impressed as he lays back on his sleeping bag. And Big Shar's still looking around. And Jarvis just, at this point, he's used to it. It feels like it's normal for him to do what he's doing now because he knows that they're out there. And then there hears some rustling off to the left, near where some of the entrails and the entrails and innards that Big Shar had thrown out. And then his dad said, "Look, they're possums." So the possums are taking the small bits off. They can see it through the eyes. They can see the eye shine and things like that. And then they can see coyotes coming to get and scare off the possums. And the coyotes are taking what's left. And so it gets quiet, really quiet. So Big Shar says, "Now listen, I want you to pay attention. See how quiet it gets? See how quiet it's gotten? That means there's a predator, an alpha predator around, okay?" So Big Shar tells Jarvis, let's go inside the blinds that they have set up so that they can observe whatever's coming without it noticing them. So they put the fire out really quick, and then they take to the blinds. And then they wait. And then they can hear some rustling, and they're looking out with infrared night goggles. And they're looking out, and they can't see anything. But then they notice they can hear stuff in the trees. And Jarvis said, "What is that, Dad? Is that an owl?" He said, "You may be onto something. It could be." But then the rustling in the trees stopped. And you can actually hear something crawling down one of the trees. And it starts tugging on the deer carcass. And they can't make out what it is because they're not getting any eye shine from the infrared cameras. from the infrared goggles that they have. So Big Shar tries to activate the FLIR, but he forgets that there's no batteries in, and he'd already told Jarvis to put batteries in. So Jarvis, he's like, "I thought I told you to put the batteries in," as he whispers to his son. He said, I forgot, Dad. I was just so excited in the trip. He said, "Always be prepared and make sure your equipment is functional. That's the reason that I gave you that responsibility." And they hear a snap. And then they come out from under the blinds and they notice that the deer carcass is gone. The buck is gone. So they turn on their headlamps and they're looking around for footprints. And they see some that they can't make out, and it looks like bear tracks. And then they don't look like bear tracks. And Big Shar looks at the tree and you can see blood kind of going up in the trees, and then he tracks the blood from the tree against some rocks. They're at least 20 feet, like a 20 feet jump from the tree. And the trail goes out. So Big Shar says, So he begins the hunt his own. And Sharvis is like, what do you mean it begins with it, the hunt's on? He said, now we track it. And we do it at night. And Sharvis' heart starts beating because, again, he knows that there are predators out at night. Could be anything. And if his dad is unsure about what it is, but his dad doesn't show any fear. And he starts feeling that same confidence. So they pack up with weapons, with their bow, and their knives, water, food, jerky, protein bars. And they stand side by side, and Big Shark says, are you ready? Little Shark says, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready, Dad. I'm ready. Let's go track this thing down. And as they proceed to follow the blood trail, that's where I'm going to leave it. Okay, this is part one of Cowards Amongst the Pale. And this is L.A. Kendrick from the House of Havoc. This is a weekly story, horror story, sci-fi story. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, okay? Doing this is a hobby of mine, and just trying to have some fun and let off some steam and mental steam for myself because of these hard times and trying times that we're in. And I'm trying to make sure that you guys have something out there to take your mind off of what may be troubling you or making you feel uncomfortable. Just something to give you something for you to look forward to. I have published work already on Amazon, Kindle, Nook, Ingram, Barnes, and Noble. And drop a few dollars if you like what I'm doing to my Cash App, which is $outrage95. In advance, thank you. All support is appreciated. And I'm thanking you so much for your time and taking the time to listen to what I'm doing here, okay? And with that being said, remember, check the dark recesses of your home. Check your closets. Check under your beds. And if you happen to work at night, make sure when you step out, going to work or getting off, you're mindful of your surroundings. Check under your car, because you never know what's lurking in the dark, waiting to make you a story. And this has been L.A. Kendrick, bringing you the heavy.